Franco or Scott Warner from Bistro Don Giovanni or George Marone or Nancy Oakes, come on Bay Cafe, and they're going to do a signature dish from their restaurant like Boulevard. But to do that kind of food, you need like 40 prep cooks and
a salamander.
Exactly, all this wild equipment. But she was able to distill the dish down to its essence, its flavors, its textures, and give people the opportunity to have the essential flavors that make it special, but in a way that they can do it in their own home. So I thought, that's what I do on Bay Cafe all the time, and I wanted to do that in a book. So I took all my favorite recipes that had that same sort of wow factor that you get when you eat in a good restaurant. It has interesting combinations of ingredients, a couple of techniques that make one ingredient into something special, or some spicing, or some basic techniques that make something that seems to be difficult actually really easy. I call those my stupid chef tricks.
Your stupid chef. So why don't you give us one stupid chef trick?
Well, I'll show you one of my favorite stupid stuff.
Oh, wow.
This is my armadillo avocado.
Okay, can you see that one? Okay.
It's stuffed with crab, and it's...
There we go. Excellent. Stuffed with crab?
Stuffed with crab and a little lemon vinaigrette and extra virgin olive oil. And it's sitting on some marinated cucumbers and a spicy mango salsa. And what you do here, and I show you how to step by step how to do that. And so, it's basically slicing the avocado, fanning it on a piece of saran wrap, and then stuffing it, and then pulling the saran wrap up and just twisting it into a ball. And you put that in the refrigerator for 5 minutes, and the avocado sort of sets, and you can unwrap it, and you've got these beautiful presentations of fanned avocado like that.
You know what? I think you can see it there. It's absolutely gorgeous. That would be very impressive.
Very impressive.
Very impressive.
When I do that for people, they're like, "Whoa!" But then there's also things on just how to make polentas. Basic
I don't think a lot of people know. My mother was from Transylvania, so Transylvanians like polenta, and she knows how to make a really good polenta. But most people don't know what it is. What is polenta?
Well, polenta is coarse ground cornmeal, and it's served sometimes either as a porridge, a creamy, soft polenta, or you can do it a little thicker and let it set, and then cut it and grill it, so it can be sort of in any shape, really, round, triangle, square, and it gets crispy on the outside and soft on the inside, so it has a really nice contrast of texture, which is super important. For me, food needs to be a contrast of textures and flavors. You have to have a balance of salt, sugar, and acid, and then you have to have soft, crunchy, and that sort of in-between, to give your mouth that sort of excitement. So every bite is a little different, every bite is a little bit more exciting, and so you don't get palate fatigue or bored.
Palate fatigue. I've never heard palate fatigue before. So would you get palate fatigue, seeing that you've owned restaurants and you've
not if I'm cooking in them.
Oh, I like that. I like that. No. Bring it, Bam.
Yeah,
no, Bam is Emerald. Sorry, not Bam.
It's okay.
Do you have your own little word that you say when you're cooking?
No, I don't.
No? Did you want to make up one now?
Yeah, I got lots of words.
Any that we can say on TV?
Probably not.
Okay, very good. Very
tasty.
Good.
That's delicious and doable is my sort of
delicious
slogan.
And doable.
Yeah,
very good.
I don't think it's worth it sharing recipes that are really while they may be fantastic, but who's going to do it? I have a lot of respect for a lot of chefs who do some fantastic things that are just, whether it be the molecular gastronomy or the classic French stuff, and that's just really labor intensive, and I think that's awesome. But I think for the average home cook, I think it's really important that people know that they could go to the supermarket, get some plain ingredients, and come home and make something that's extra special without having to exert a ton of energy or spend a lot of money on fancy things. I think if you shop seasonally and you shop smart, you can make yourself a fantastic meal. It's just a matter of knowing a few good recipes, a few basic techniques. Like I was going to say, the polenta, some people think they just read the box that says boil water, add the polenta, and cook. Well, that's one way to make it, but it's sort of But if you saute a little onions and you put a little milk in your water and then you put a little tablespoon of butter and you simmer it for a long time, like let it just simmer like 2 hours, 3 hours, and keep it covered and stir it occasionally, and then at the end add a little Parmesan cheese, it is going to be the most creamy, loving thing you've ever had. And you could put that under a roasted shoe and it would be delicious.
I like the whole idea of the comfort and embracing and warm, because it really does make you, it elicits a response.
Oh,
The food, the
absolutely.
visual, but how, what do you think is the biggest response that people get from a restaurant? Because I've been to restaurants where the food is like piled up and really at very strange angles and
Right.
it beautifully, it looks
Right.
beautiful,
Right.
but then you taste it,
Right.
you know, and some that not a great presentation, but the food is to die for.
I
So-
rather have not great presentation and food to die for than the other way around. I think when I see food that's too handled or too manipulated, I start thinking like how many fingers were over, touching all that food.
Oh, that's a good point.
And so that's a little bit of a turnoff to me. But I also think there are some people who are doing some phenomenal presentations that are really cool and tricked out, but still have pure great flavors. I think what they do at the Fifth Floor or Aqua or my friend Gerald Hirigoyen's restaurant, Piperad. It's very simple, but the presentations are really beautiful. But they're not overly done, but they're just really elegantly done. And I think that's really, I think you eat with your eyes first. So
Yeah.
when it comes out and if it looks delicious, it's going to give you that sort of setup of waiting to tuck into that first bite. If it doesn't, then the flavor has to overcompensate for that first turn. It's like you imagine you walk into a restaurant and you get a cold greeting from the hostess, or
Right.
all of a sudden now the chef has to be that much better to get over that initial feeling that you have of like, I don't think I want to be here. And it's like, if you look at a plate, it's all messy and it's, it may be delicious, but you're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to eat that. And so when you eat it, you're like, wow, I think this is actually better than I thought. But if it looks delicious, you're already won over and you're just, you know what I mean?
That's true. Where do you go to eat? If you wanted to be treated to a wonderful meal, is there like a favorite restaurant that you have, or can you say?
I have to say, living in San Francisco for as long as I have, and having Bay Cafe on the air for 9 years and hosting almost 800 chefs, we did 585 shows.
800 chefs?
Yeah, because when we first started, the first 3 years, we'd have 3 chefs a show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, 300 shows. And we have a lot of repeat chefs, but we had close to 800 chefs on
That's
the show. 'Cause
amazing.
Bay Area chefs plus chefs from New York and Boston and Europe, anybody who's traveling through the Bay Area. And then a lot of, cookbook authors. Anyway, I know so many people in the restaurant industry. Wherever I go, I feel like I'm in a friend's house, because I know so many of the great chefs. And but I'm always discovering new places. I've lived in the sort of inner Richmond for about almost 10 years now, and first time ever I went to Q on Clement Street, and these people have been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Super nice couple who run this place. It's funky, it's delicious, it's awesome. There's something for everybody. So yeah, there's so many.
There are so many.
I mean, you
You ever-
can't go wrong in San Francisco. You
you ever-
really have to try hard to go wrong.
You ever been to the Blue Plate?
Of course.
I love
Yeah,
the Blue
love
Plate. I love
Yeah.
the meatloaf there. Oh my God, to die for. But that's not a
That
plug.
area is really that is another. I mean, they say Valencia corridor is great, but even on the other side of that, in the Bernal Heights area, there's
What's
so many
the front porch and- yeah.
and Emmy's Spaghetti Shack.
Yeah, yeah.
and, there's a
Good
lot of
stuff.
Lots of good stuff.
So do you ever get invited to dinner parties? I think people would just be so intimidated to have you at their
I
house.
do, but they let me know how intimidated they are. And,
Okay.
and Joyce Goldstein wrote an article many years ago when she was writing for the Chronicle. She had a column, and one of hers that sticks out in my mind was "Chefs do not live on Mount Olympus," and it's about how people think that we walk around and we're constantly critiquing and judging other people's food, and we're like these food snobs. And the truth of the matter is that we would be happy with a 6-pack and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich,
Really?
because we don't care, because we didn't have to make it. So it's just having somebody else cook for us is great. What we don't like is when we go to people's house and they overextend themselves. So one, they're in the kitchen the whole time. They're not with us because they're trying to impress us or trying to show that, hey, I'm not slacking because you're here. I really wanted you to know that I care about cooking. And it's like, you know what? That's too much. It's overworked. And be with me. I came here to hang out with you, not to, watch you break your neck trying to make dinner.
That's true. That would be intimidating, I think.
Also,
so.
I think it's really important that if you are going to invite a chef over, put him to work. Give him
Ah.
something to do. You're not going to insult them. You don't have to have them make dinner, but have them make the croutons or have them make the dressing or something like that will automatically put everybody at ease because everybody's doing something, and it takes all that awkwardness away because everybody's just shucking and jiving in the kitchen, and everybody's part of the party.